We have invited four incredible guests onto our podcast to elevate and educate all women as they embark on their personal growth and career path. While we center our podcast around men's mental health and empowerment, we do not discredit or disregard women on our platform in any way. This series is intended to highlight the amazing women that are committed to dominating their field and pushing boundaries. You, the audience, comment down below your thoughts and help create an amazing community full of people uplifting each other. And as always, enjoy the video.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Men the Podcast. I'm your co-host Trey Mosley, and today we are in for a special episode as part of our new Women Empowerment series that we're doing. We are trying to recognize young, talented, brave young women that are striving for excellence in their career fields, in their life, and all of those different areas that you could be excellent in, could be bad in, a lot of different things involving mental health, all of those good things. Today we have the first guest on the pod. Her name is Mary Zimmer. It's a person that I've known for a while. It's a person that I met in high school that we more recently got closer, more acquainted to. She's somebody who I look up to personally because she's someone who motivates me to do better in my life by the way that she carries herself, the goals that she set in her life, and the career path that she's chosen, and how well she's doing in that career field. So, Mary, would you like to say anything to the audience? First girl on the pod. It's big steps.
Hi, thank you for having me. The first one, that's kind of crazy. It's been how many years?
It's been
3.
long, 2 years, going on 3 now. Yeah.
Wow.
Seasons, wrapping it up.
Finally getting girls on Men the Podcast.
You know, we just try to be inclusive in all areas. It just took us a little longer to get the women in there. That's all it was. We were just trying to save it for the good build-up. We tried to get some viewers and whatnot, just so that way the girls could feel more special when they came on the pod.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for having me.
Let's go ahead and get into it. How about you let the viewers know what you do and kind of a little bit about your job and your life right now?
So I graduated from college from University of Illinois in 2020 with my bachelor's in accounting. I work for a company called Grant Thornton. I'm a senior tax accountant in their methods and credits group, but I primarily focus on the research and development tax credit. For those of you who don't know, it's the most lucrative tax credit in United States history. It's kind of fun. A lot of times if you join accounting and you're in the audit side, you kind of have this stigma that auditors are out to get you. What are you doing wrong? So it's nice. Yeah, it's really nice being on the other side. All of our clients are very welcoming and like, oh yeah, like, what do you need? Like, we want to get this credit, like, whatever, really helpful, really open. So basically my day to day is we kick off an engagement. We get, our basic information request and then then we'll have interviews either on site or virtual, a lot more virtual than on site since COVID. And then you just kind of get to talk to a bunch of different people at the top of their field. So I have clients in aerospace, pharmaceutical, tech, manufacturing, a lot of interesting stuff. So it's kind of just learning something new.
People kind of thing.
Yeah, you just got to learn something new every day and then take that information and calculate their credit and then do the qualitative write-ups. So it's pretty interesting. I like it. My favorite part is talking to different people and seeing what they do.
Yeah. So basically, for all the viewers that aren't that big in accounting, it took me a while to understand this as well. She is basically someone who trying to kind of helps you on your taxes, someone who is trying to save the company's money, things like that. She is person, like, she'll go around, you go on visits and stuff, and you'll get to view all of the different things that they have in their company, the different equipment they use, how many people they have, all of that good jazz. And you kind of just crunch the numbers on the back end to help the companies turn in their taxes and things like that.
Yeah.
What would you say is what led you to this? Is there a certain event? Is there kind of you just fell into the job? What do you think was your breaking point for wanting to be an accountant?
College, I came in undecided and I was like, okay, I'm either going to go to med school, do that or go into business were like the two things I was interested in. And then my cousin had a baby my freshman year, and I was like at the hospital. I was like, this place is kind of gross. Like, I don't think I want to be here for like every day for my entire life. Like, I don't love it here. So that was literally the deciding factor. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do med school, not going to go that route. Let's like do business. And then I still, even though I decided to like go the business route, I was like, I didn't have like a specific direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so you take your business core classes at U of I, and I was in, intro to accounting, and everyone was getting like C's and D's on the test, and I was getting A's, and I was like, oh, this isn't like hard. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And my grandpa was an accountant, and he said, oh, you should do accounting. And then it was kind of like, if you're in the business school, like accounting's the hardest major, and it opens the most doors, the most opportunities. If you have an accounting degree, if you have your CPA, you can really like switch career paths super easily. There's a lot of different things you can do. So I kind of just picked my major based on, what's going to give me the most opportunities, what's going to like lead me to,
Yeah, give you the most chances at different jobs. Even if you didn't like one thing, you could come out and try doing a different thing just because accounting's such a broad thing, like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, but this specific area, I just kind of fell into. I just, interviewed with a bunch of companies for internships junior year. And from the get-go, really liked Grant Thornton, really wanted Grant Thornton to be my at least first internship, and then just really clicked with the firm and the people there, and just kind of fell into, you kind of like got to pick. We had like a little survey when we started our internship, and it was like, what are you interested in? And I did like mergers and acquisitions, and then the group used to be called like Strategic Federal Tax Services was like another one I picked. And then just had some really good mentors in this group, and I'm just sticking with our methods and credits group now. So I think I definitely was a person that was like, oh, I need to have like a really specific plan. I need to have a very specific goal, but it's okay to just kind of like try some things out and see what fits.
It's kind of like a trial and error thing. You don't really need to have that vision or that like once you grow up, like when you're 10 years old, you're like, okay, I want to be a doctor. And then you go say, all right, I'm gonna go do med school, and then I'm gonna go do all these things. You don't have to have it figured out. I feel like there's a lot of people these days that think that, oh, you have to have everything figured out. You have to know what you want to do. College is so expensive. Like, you don't want to waste your time there. You don't want to spend more money on classes. Like, it's okay to jump in and just not have a direction, not have like anywhere that you particularly like. And you could find that passion in once you get into college and once you start taking those classes. It's like you are the perfect example, is that you didn't know what you were going to do. Then you jumped in, started finding something that you're good at, and now the rest is history. What would you say your career goals is, being a public accountant, being at a relatively large firm? Like, what would you say your goal setting steps are that you want to accomplish throughout your career?
So right now, so in public accounting, the longer you stay in, the better your exit opportunities are. So at the moment, I'm like, I just want to try to be partner. They say that once you make partner, it's like kind of a completely different career. Like they're like, you're in your career, but then like your career really starts like once you're partner, actually. And it's like a completely new ball game, new rules, new benefits. Kind of like there's like a new club, and the goal right now is to
You want
see
to be in
what's
the
in the
cool kids
club.
club?
Yeah, I want to join
Yeah.
the club. I want to see what's going on over there.
So for the people who don't really know accounting, what would you say a partner does, and like what their kind of responsibilities are in the firm?
So it really depends. So a partner, when you make partner, you have a buy-in to the firm. So you're a part owner of Grant Thornton. So then from there on out, you don't have a set salary, which is important. What you make is how many shares you have times like the revenue that
Right.
Grant Thornton made during the year. So that's different. So you're in charge of, having your own book of business, bringing in new clients, a lot more client facing, selling, cross-selling, a lot more. activities, but then there's also partners that aren't client facing and do more of the internal processes and
Like doing
different
things for
things.
just Grant Thornton specifically, just
Yeah.
keeping them
So,
afloat, basically.
mhm. So there's
So
like a lot of different things that you can do as a partner even, and there's a bunch of
yeah,
different
you just
levels once you are a partner too.
it's just very a wide range of things that you can do.
Mhm.
Okay, that's very very informative for all the non-accounting people.
Maybe not. I
Would
feel like that was
you?
very broad.
Well, I mean, like, that you're basically the people recruiting the companies, trying to make Grant Thornton bigger, trying to get your business. It's like almost with any other business, honestly, is that you want more people to buy in. It's like same thing as starting a podcast. You're starting by putting out the information, doing the groundwork, which is like you building up in your accounting career, being a senior associate, being a manager, and then you jump to partner. And then once you get to that point where you're no longer building other people up, you try to build yourself up and bring other people along with you that want to join the experience, join the ride, things like that. So in the accounting world, would you say that it is more inclusive for women, or would you say that women have a larger barrier to get across, more hoops to jump through to just be successful, be a partner, accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish?
I think one of the things in public accounting in general is there is a very clear path for promotion. There's not, a lot of, if you're private or in different career paths, it's not as set, like what are your next steps all the time. It's very like, okay, 2 years as an associate, 2 to 3 as a senior, new manager, 3 years, experienced manager, 5 years, whatever. Most people are up for partner between like 10 and 15 years at the company. And so I think like in that aspect it's easy, and I don't feel like it's different between men and women as far as the opportunities that are there. In public accounting, there's actually a trend. There's more, I think, more women in public accounting overall than men generally. And I see that in my office specifically. Our OMP said, she's like, it kind of goes back and forth with recruiting. I mean, you can send out as many a million offers, but it just depends who accepts at the end of the day. And every student's fielding multiple companies, multiple offers. So we are definitely women heavy in our St. Louis office right now. Grant Thornton has a lot of women in leadership, definitely feel supported from that aspect. But we have this thing in Grant Thornton. It's for any, marginalized group. We call them business resource groups. So there's one for
Right.
women in business, disabled persons, African American, Pan Asian, LGBTQIA plus. So it's like different groups, and they'll have like meetings and kind of like just discussions on like different topics. So we had one a while ago now, and it was a statistic between. It was looking at maybe the top 6 or 7 public accounting firms. So Big Four, and then like Grant Thornton, like RSM, BDO, sized
Yeah, just
firms.
the big companies. Yeah, just
Yeah.
they
And
were. What were they comparing?
so it was like men and women by role, by like percentages by role. So it's roughly 50-50 throughout. I think men were like a little bit higher up until senior manager. So senior manager is the step right before you make partner. And then it was like senior manager, I think there were maybe even like more women. I don't know. Don't quote me on it. But then at partner, and then at partner, it's way more men, like significantly, maybe like 70-30. So it goes from 50-50
Right.
throughout, the entire, let's say, first 15 years of their career. And then, okay, like what's happening? Like at partner, or is it, discrimination or what's going on?
Exactly, and like if you
So
think
they
about
looked
it,
into it a little bit further. And if you think about it, that's when in those senior manager years are when most people are starting their families now, like in your early 30s is when you're starting to have kids. And that's when we see just women in general exiting the workforce
yeah, because they want to
for the
take care of
first
the
time.
kids, take care of their families. They'll have the 9 months of being pregnant, and then you have the 3 to 4 months of being off just after birth and things like that.
Mhm.
So it kind of does put women in a disadvantage. I would agree with you, but I don't think that should deter women from being partners, though. How would you say that something could be changed with that? Do you think that there should be like more men trying to support their wives, girlfriends, things like that, and stay home longer? Or do you think that there's kind of no way around being able to supplement that family lifestyle that you want with still being successful in your career and trying to make partners?
I see it both ways, and I've had my current PPMD advisor, her and her husband are actually both partners at different public accounting firms, and they have 3 kids, and they make it work. And it works for them. I don't know. I have no idea, like if they have nannies or what the system is. But then I had another senior manager that I was really close with, and she ended up leaving the firm just because the hours were too much, the demand was too much. She wanted to spend more time with her kids, and there is a lot of hours that you work in public accounting, and that's not necessarily going to change. So I think it's more just personal values. I guess
And
if the
having
question is
that kind of support
how to
system.
keep them, yeah. But I do think it comes back to the men and like supporting your wife and having that really open and honest relationship about or communication about your career goals and what you want to see and what you want to do. If you get to, I don't think there's anything wrong. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, except you might have a slight identity crisis at 45 when your kids
Did
leave.
not know what
Like,
you're doing. Yeah.
it worked out. We're good.
Right.
I think it's sad if that was the goal from the beginning and you have to leave because you have 3 kids and they just need more of your time and you're not getting that support from your partner to make it work, then that's unfortunate. But if it's just a decision you came to together and this is best for your family, then yeah,
Yeah, I
you have to
agree
do
that
it.
like it's very dependent on situation. I feel like those stats could be skewed because sometimes you have women that want to go to a private firm like the person that you just had do that, or you have others that just say like, I want to spend more time with my kids and time with my family. I don't want to be working these 10-hour, 12-hour tax season shifts that you do, regardless if it's working from home or if you're in the office. There's also a lot of traveling involved in your job as well. So it does make it a lot harder to like leave your family, leave your kids behind, knowing that like there'll be 2 to 3 days that you don't see them.
Yeah.
But I think it all just comes back to the point of like making sure that you and your partner, you and the person that you chose to start this family with, very open about career goals, like you were saying, and knowing that like this are the things that we want to accomplish as a family, these are things that you want to accomplish personally, and having those conversations, those tough conversations, to where you let people know like this is what I want to do, and even though we're building something together, I still want to be building myself up at that same time.
Mhm.
So going ahead and pivoting on to the next kind of topic that we wanted to bring up in this podcast was that there was a nice article that you sent me the other day, and it was talking about, are women of power less happy in their relationships than in relationships where the men and women either make equal money, have equally important jobs. It doesn't even have to be about the money, have equally important stable jobs, or if the woman has a greater job than their partner does, or if the man is more built up and has more things going for them and the woman is not doing as much. Is that like kind of in the article it addressed that women were more seen, that there was a higher divorce rate in women that were had higher status than men, than their spouse was, and there was just a lot more of tension in the relationships from all of the women that they interviewed, anything like that. So I kind of wanted to ask you, since you are in a very successful job, you are going to be a very successful person. That is what you've geared towards. That is how your life goals have been set up. The steps that you took throughout college, throughout high school, just making sure that you were going to be on the right path for your life and the career that you wanted to accomplish. Is there any kind of, do you have any thoughts on what you believe? Like, do you think this is true? Like, what are your kind of thoughts on the article that you sent me?
I thought that article was really interesting. I'm glad like we're gonna, talk about it now. And I think it's really important. And I think there's can be a lot of resentment, like in women. If you're making more money and you're doing the like brunt of the housework and you're taking care of everything, like you're making dinner every night, you're going grocery shopping, you're meal planning, you're the one who knows all the kids' schedules. I think there's a lot of pressure on women to, even though they're back in the workforce, to still be that figure, that person that's like keeping the household together in those aspects. And I think we haven't shifted as much as a society as sharing those responsibilities between the wife and the husband, even though women are working. And I think that's what comes where it becomes a problem and where it becomes super overwhelming.
So would you say that you're a person who doesn't want to be a part of most of those responsibilities? Like you would want to split that 50-50, or are you saying that like you still want to be able to do that, but if you feel like your partner or your spouse is helping you and like lifting you up, being very motivational, things like that, would you still see yourself as doing most of the brunt of the work and still consider it that way, even if you had that support system that was like encouraging you and then wanted to help out whenever, always asking like, is there anything that I can do to help you? Things like that.
So I think it's hard because like see, I grew up with those, typical gender roles. My dad was a lawyer, my mom stayed at home with us. She was the one doing that. And so it feels like that's like that would be my job. But like, and I don't know, I don't have kids. I'm not a parent, but so we'll see. And I think it's easy to, say like, oh, this is how I would parent. But then I think when you're in it, it's completely different. But I think that's what like women struggle with, and like what, it's hard. Like it feels like you have to choose between the two. You can have a career or you can have kids, and it's like I want to do it both. But my friends and I talk about it all the time. Like, how do people do both? Like we're like barely doing one. Like we're just starting. Our jobs are still fairly easy. We have, limited responsibilities. Like you have, more responsibility, and then you have kids, and then you have everything that goes along with that. Like it's scary, and it's hard to like it's hard. I honestly can't even imagine.
Yeah, especially you work a whole lot of long hours. Like, just imagine working 10 hours and then still having to take the kids to football practice or baseball practice, whatever it may be. I think another great point that they brought up in this article was that they re-interviewed the same women that talked about being unhappy in their marriages, having relationship problems, filing for divorce, things like that. They brought up 3 years later, they did that same interview and they kind of asked them those same questions. And there was a large amount of them that responded very positively, saying that it's not about like who makes more money. It's not about who has the better job. It's more about like the mental aspect of things, of how you're supporting your partner. Like it was known that the men who were more like appreciative and the men who were more like uplifting, supportive, things like that, those relationships, they didn't matter who was making more money, who was doing the brunt of the things. It was all about the togetherness, the camaraderie that you get with building your life around someone. And I feel like that was a good highlight of that article, was that no matter what you do and who you do it with, if you are building something together and you're actually trying to create a life with that person, everyone was happy. There was no disparities about money. There was no disparities about who was going to take the kids to what, who was picking them up from school, things like that. As long as you are building that support system and like from the jump, as soon as you guys do have kids, decide to want to start a family, having those tough conversations, saying like these are the kind of the things that we want to accomplish. So how can we go about goal setting to make those accomplishments happen, make those goals happen? How can we lift each other up and guide each other through the process of life? Because nobody's done it before. Like this isn't something that one person has experience in and the other person doesn't. Like both of you guys are starting fresh. So I think communication was a big key that they were trying to express in that article.
And I think it's, like having that conversation like early, if that's the goal of the relationship, every person has, their career goals, their ideas, and, just being open and honest, I think from day one, and like knowing that they're going to change probably. Like, I mean, personally, like I want the option. I'm very career oriented right now, but I could so see having like one kid and being like, I want to be a mom. Like, it could
You're done
happen.
with the accounting, just want to be a mom. Yeah.
I mean, every busy season, I'm like, oh, I'm done with this.
Right. Yeah. No, it definitely does get overwhelming. We'll kind of pivot from the article. It was a great article. We'll have the link in the description for the article if anyone does want to read up on that. What advice would you give to young men and women that are trying to advance themselves in their career? Like, no matter if it's in accounting, if it's in business management, if it's in the medical field, all of those different aspects, what kind of obstacles, goals, or certain things that you can look for to try to advance your career?
I think the biggest thing is to not be afraid to advocate for yourself. Um, the group that I'm primarily working in now doesn't actually exist in the St. Louis office. So I kind of had to not fight, but just repeatedly ask, hey, I want to be doing this. I want to be doing this. I know I want to be doing this. Can I have more of this? Can you take me off these clients so I have more time to be staffed on this? And if you know what you want, just ask. It costs so much more money it costs so much money to hire a new person. Like think about it. There's, costs for going to the recruiting events, costs for posting applications on different sites, all the time it takes to go through multiple levels of review. A company, financially, it makes more sense to, if they have someone already working for them, to find them and put them in a spot that they're going to be successful than to go out and look for someone new. So if you know the opportunity is there, just don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. And then I think the second thing is, don't diminish the little extra things. Like, sign up for that committee, go to the happy hours, do the things. Your connections that you make with people is going to help you so much more than.
Yeah, and could definitely agree with you about the networking part. As you know, I know a lot of people and a lot of different things, and you never know, like, what someone has to offer. Like, it can be a random Tuesday, and you're talking to this random person that you've never met before. Just talking to them, listening to them, being a part of the conversation, being engaged in your conversation. You never know what opportunities can come from that one person, what their career goals in their life are. I'm
Exactly.
honestly a perfect example of this. Is that there was a couple of people that I played college football with, and when I was trying to figure out my path and what I wanted to do after I graduated college, I was working in the hospital, and I was going to go back to med school. I was getting clinical hours, those things. And then I ran into one of my buddies that I played college football with, and it was randomly at Chick-fil-A on a random day at a Chick-fil-A at our campus. He was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? Like, haven't seen him in 2 years, hadn't talked to him." But we were just close because we were from the same city. We went to the same college, had a lot of bonding time there. And it was more of a like catching up, like, what are you up to now? What goals are you doing? And I knew that he was someone who had their pre-med degree, did the same things that I did. And he introduced me into cancer research, which is what I do now. And he just kind of explained to me about his job, like what he was doing. And I was like, well, maybe I would like that. Like, maybe that's something that I would be interested in. And he kind of showed me the ways to apply, and the rest is history now. I work currently at WashU. I love my job. And it honestly feels like I don't work at all. My days go by fast, weeks go by fast. And I really enjoy, like, I still get that same person to person connection that I was getting in the hospital. Whereas now I just have a more not as crazy work schedule. I have a lot better hours. I get to meet a lot more people than you normally would. Working in the hospital, you're only talking to the sick of the sick people. Whereas sometimes I'll be in clinics and it'll be the healthiest person alive that you can tell. It's like, you look healthier than I do, or you look like you would go out and go run a 5K, and then but you just have cancer. Like, there's just so many different people and experiences that I get to experience just through this job. that I wouldn't have had that experience with in any other job that I was going to do, simply because of the fact that I just knew a lot of people and was never too shy to like talk to someone. Like I'm always someone that is never going to stray away from a conversation. Like I'll have a conversation with you about anything. I'm very easygoing. I'm just never someone who would shy someone out. And I think that that is probably the number one aspect of moving up into your career. I really like that you addressed that part of like the lifestyle, because networking is a big thing in every industry, and no matter what it is, who it is, you never know what you'll run into or who you will run into.
I got an offer at Deloitte from talking to a guy at Molly's. That like was the start. I mean, it wasn't on the spot. I had like a couple more interviews, real interviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, just set it up for me, which was, but so random. Like,
Yeah, but that's what happens. Like you never know
yeah.
what people do, and most of the people in their jobs don't even look like what they actually do when you see them outside. Like if we're being honest, like you run into a lot of people and you can see them and just be like, I wonder what they do, and like you would never know. Like there's people you see in the gym. For instance, when I go to the gym, I found out that one of my doctors actually goes to the gym, and looking at him at the gym, looking at him when we're in clinic and stuff like that, like it's two totally different people. And like me and him laugh about it. We've talked about it before, and it's honestly crazy. You never know what you can run into or what experiences you can gain just by being a nice person and talking to people. You never want to close the door before it's open. You always just want to
Yeah.
talk to everyone and just be a good, genuine person.
I think like meeting people in different environments too is like you learn so much more about them. Like we talk about that all the time. Like, we're like, how come like when we go to bars we never like see nice guys, but like they have to be out there, right? And we're like, I think it's just because we're at bars. Like,
Yeah, it's
like what
probably a
is going
product of the environment.
on? Yeah.
Well, I will say that this was an amazing episode. I'm very glad that we got to have you on the pod. First woman on the pod. The pod's going up. If you're still listening, we really appreciate all of the listeners that we've had along the way, all of the people that have gave us support. We always love feedback that we get from different people, no matter if it's good, bad, and different. We really appreciate Mary, you for coming on the podcast, and breaking that barrier that we hadn't broken yet.
Men, the podcast being inclusive, we're all for it.